It was isolation, it was visualization, it was motivation, and it was dedication. There was nothing else going on in my life, you know what I mean? To get to the pinnacle, it needs to be like that. It needs to be no outsiders. It needs to be, you need to have your team and your focus, and that's it. I don't need friends that aren't involved in this game, or that aren't on the same path, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't make sense.
Fuck it, that's exactly how I changed my life. Now, I created a video on Instagram yesterday, and it was a smaller version on what I'm going to touch on today. Now, I love making these type of videos. The reason being is because all great men, or men who have achieved success in any areas, we can learn from them. They have the blueprint there. We just have to dissect it, take it, reflect on it, and most importantly, apply it. So in today's video, I'm sharing 3 key tips that helped me change my life from a position where I was at rock bottom, drinking all the time, taking drugs, no income, no job, no self-confidence, no self-esteem, to now a man today who has his own business, who's thriving with his health and fitness, and who's developing in all areas of his life. Now, how do we make that change? Now, in today's video, we're going to touch on it. Now, again, to set the intention for this video, and the main marker is to make sure that you apply what it is that we are saying. Now, the principles that we're going over, they will never change in life. No matter what level you get to, you can always revert back to these principles, reflect on what's happening to make the relevant changes that we need to make, okay? But if you are in a position right now where you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, and you want to make changes, you want to develop your self-confidence, you want to start building the business, you want to start getting in shape, you want to start building that championship mentality, these are the 3 things that we can do today to get instant success. Now, I'm going to share a quick story, okay? And I shared this on my Instagram yesterday, but I'm going to share it again, right? Now, I remember around about 5 years ago, right? It was a Saturday night. I was sitting in my garden, right, with a bottle of Mad Dog, because the night before I was on gear, sniffing lines, and I was on pills as well. So I was having the worst come down of my life. So I was sitting in my garden, my bottle of Mad Dog to get ready to come down. But that's just the type of person I was, okay? I was always seeking the buzz and always trying to escape reality. Now, the position I was in there, or the state that I was living, okay, had no self-confidence, no self-worth, no job, right? I had no plan of action. Mental health was pish poor. My environment was not set up for success, and I was playing the victim day in and day out. Now, my life was heading into a worse position that it was already in. Now, after many failed attempts, right, I truly decided at that point on that enough was enough, because I knew that detrimental consequences were continue going to happen in my life if I didn't make that change. Now, when I made that change, right there and then, it was not the first time that I decided to make that change. I failed many times, right? I can't even count how many times I failed, right? But all I know is I was failing for years. I said that I wanted to change, but I never made the change. And I continued to show up to life the same way. And my results get worse. The way I felt declined even more. And my mental health was becoming apparent that it was at rock bottom, okay? Now, I truly had to make that change, and I decided to make that change right there and then, right? But the 3 things that I had to do to make that change are as follows, okay? The first thing that I had to do, man, was check my environment, okay? And I had to look at the 3 Ps, right? The people I was surrounding myself with, the places I was going, and the patterns that I was living by day in and day out, okay? So the 3 Ps all fall into environment. Your environment isn't just the place that you go. It's the people, the patterns, and the place that you go on your day-to-day, okay? This is a reflection of your environment, and it's also a reflection of yourself. If you're surrounded by the wrong people, right, their beliefs, their attitudes, who they are as individuals, it will influence you if you like it or not. The places that you go, right, have the exact same effect, okay? The patterns, right, that you live by day in and day out is your environment, because that's a reflection of you. Man, we need to first change our environment, okay, to have a chance to change our life. You cannot continue to be around the same people, places, and live from the same patterns day in and day out and think that you can truly change. Because as men, we need to have an identity shift to change. And that means we need to change a few things in our life. So you have to have the courage to dare to make these relevant changes. And guess what? It's fucking tough when you've been accustomed to living in a certain way for years, right? Your mind and body is living in an automatic way. When you look to make that change, your mind is going to be like, hold up here, what are you doing, okay? But you need to battle against that, right? And understand your environment needs to be changed for you to change. I had to change my environment right there and right then, okay? I had to check the people I was surrounding myself with. I had to check the places that I was going, and I had to check the patterns that I was living by. When I'm speaking about patterns, I'm meaning your thought processes, the beliefs that you're holding, okay? The things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, the habits, right? Those small action steps that might seem small, but lead into a huge consequence of results. Man, we need to check these right at the front door, and especially going into 2026, it is the most important time to do this at this moment in time, especially if you've not been getting the results you wanted at this point in time, okay? So again, at that moment in time, when I was at rock bottom, bottle of Mad Dog in my hand, taking lines the night before, constantly taking pills, okay? I was fried as fuck, okay? And I know I need to make the change because my mental health was piss poor, and I didn't want to fall into that life for the rest of my life, okay? Because it would have ended up in serious bad consequences, okay? Already hit rock bottom, already knew the life I was living, and I knew that I could be more. The small voice in my head, okay? So, man, check your fucking environment, okay? That's how you change your life. The second thing, man, is your vices here. Now, you need to be open and honest with yourself and ask yourself, what vices are holding you back? Is it drinking? Is it drugs? Is it gambling? Is it seeking validation? Is it going to the clubs every weekend? What are your specific vices? Is it overindulging in food, right? Maybe you want to get in a specific shape, but you're overindulging in snacks or food every single night, okay? You need to identify the vices that are holding you back as a man, right? And look at it from a different angle on how you can change it, or at least navigate towards it and through it to change that habit and build a lifestyle that you truly want. Because if that vice is holding you back, right, that vice will always be there until you truly change it, and you can only change it when you view it from a different perspective. For example, my vice was taking drugs. My vice was drinking. I no longer drink, and I no longer take drugs. I'm 5 years sober coming up, okay? But for me to change that, for me to change that vice, right, or to reduce my drinking or stop drinking completely, I had to look at it from a different angle. I had to understand why I was drinking in the first place. I was drinking to numb my pain, my anxiety, okay, to mask my poor self-confidence. When I walked into that uncomfortable door and I seek the truth, then I could start working on internal mechanisms in my mind to make the changes that I need to make. Now, guess what? It wasn't a overnight success. It took time. But once I redefined the man I wanted to be, and I knew I was in this game for life, and I wanted to achieve noteworthy success in my life and become someone new, of course it was going to take time, because there was some fucked up beliefs that I had to change. There was some habits I had to change. There was some people I had to stop surrounding myself with. I had to build a new world in my coexisting world that I was already in, okay? And then you will have to do the same. Is look at your vices, be honest with yourself, what is truly holding you back, and address it fucking head on. Have the open and honest conversation with yourself. Now, man, the third one, right, is being realistic. Now, I'm the most optimistic person that you'll meet, okay? I see the best in people, and I can see their potential. But when you're looking to change in your current position, you need to be realistic. You need to be realistic on where you currently are, right? Your current results, how you're currently feeling, the current levels of self-confidence, right? The current position you're at, and be precise with it. Because the reason why most men don't change is because they're not realistic on where they are. Now, if you don't know exactly where you are, how the fuck do you know where it is or how far away you are from achieving your goals? When you think from a long-term, right, mindset, it changes your perspective completely, because you know you're in the game for life. So when I was sitting in my garden with a bottle of Mad Dog on the worst come down in my life, right, feeling at the lowest point in my life, off of a heavy night in drugs, right, I had the hard conversation with myself, and I knew that for me to change my life, it might take a few years. It might take a year. It might take 2 years, okay? But I was ready. I was battle ready, because I had enough of pretending, bullshitting myself, and living in the way that I was currently living. Now, when I admitted to myself that it might take a bit longer than I anticipated or wanted, this caused me to be realistic, right? Which meant when I faced challenges the next day, or the day after that, or a week later, or a month later, I was still persistent, and I was still consistent, and I was able to give up the drink, I was able to stop the drugs, and I was able to surround myself with people who were on the path of that I was on towards becoming better, more successful, and I was able to pick up the speed of my progress, right? But if my mindset was, right, next week I expect X, Y, Z results, I expect to completely stop drinking completely, I expect to have a totally new environment, I expect to have a new belief system on how I view myself, that is not realistic, because if I fall into old habits or patterns straight away, then I would immediately judge myself and I would revert back into my old way of thinking through guilt and shame and things along those lines. But when you think long term and you build up the goal that you truly want and you're in this game for life, then results will follow, right? And you have to really be patient when it comes to this and understand that changing the internal mechanisms of your mind and the beliefs that you hold will take time. But this is the exciting part, because you need to enjoy the process in between of you achieving your goals, okay? Now, men, fuck it, this is exactly how I changed my life in 3 steps, okay? So we have our environment, the 3 P's, the people, places and patterns. We've got the vices. Have that hard and open conversation with yourself. The third one, men, is being realistic, okay? Understand your starting position right now, understand the changes that are going to have to be made, understand your current results, and understand the current beliefs that you hold, and understand and know that it will take time, but enjoy the process in between of you achieving your goals and changing into the man you truly want to be. But you can have instant success now and start walking in the state that you want to be in by applying the information that we went over today. Now, if any of this was useful, let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you check out my Instagram page, JamesCameron_coaching, for more content. And again, any questions, man, let me know, but comment in the comment section below.